Okay, welcome back to another episode. So today's lesson is chapter 6, lesson 6, sections. Section plan. So let me go ahead and open this up. You should be familiar with how to, save as and rename, this plan as a building section. I just named it section plan, and I'm okay with that. And so it should look like this. And so what we're going to do is we are going to zoom into the south elevation, and we are going to um, eliminate all the exterior um, line work except for a few things. And so let's go ahead and do that. So let's eliminate this, and let's do this. There we go. And I'll need to come back and do some cleanup right here. You know what? While I'm here, why not? Before I forget. And that happens too. So, um, especially when you're drafting and you think, well, maybe I'll just get back to it. Typically, uh, things are forgotten. So if you're there and you think about it, do it right on the spot. Get into that habit. And I don't know why I'm doing all this when I could just come over here, and here we go. Oop, too far. Okay. Okay, that looks relatively clean. Let me, again, we'll do some cleanup. We'll leave this alone. And here, let's trim this up. And I'm going to delete this and this. And the only reason why I'm deleting that up there and there's a huge gap is so I can clean that up. So I'm using the fillet command, and this right here, I don't need this line. So if you look on page 6-3, figure 6-1.2, I'm just trying to recreate that. So I'm using trim, and looks like there's nothing here. And gonna delete this as well. There we go. Delete, 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 and delete. Looks like this line was deleted, but I think we need it. And so let's do this. Delete and then just extend. Go. And that matches up with this wall up here. Okay, so when we're doing a section, I know the book didn't quite say too well what a section is. And so let me go ahead and get into, let me clean this up real quick. I'm going to go ahead and get into what a section is. And essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to take, I'm going to make a line of exactly where we're cutting. And we're cutting through this particular plane, and we're looking inward this way. So we're looking this way. Go ahead and in that direction. And so I know we're looking at a floor plan, but imagine this was a three-dimensional object and you were to cut it. Let's say you were cutting open a cantaloupe, and I know that's a random thing to just mention, cantaloupe, but say you're cutting open a cantaloupe. And the reason why I'm using the cantaloupe analogy is because it kind of helps contextualize and seeing what a section actually is. And when you cut that cantaloupe in half and you crack it open, you can see the skin of the outside, and then there's a little green inner layer, and then you see, that bright orange cantaloupe part that you eat. And then you get to the inner core where there's like seeds and there's that slimy, hairy stuff. You kind of scoop that out. Well, you see all that inner workings when you cut it open. And that's what essentially a section plan is. We're cutting open this building three-dimensionally and projecting what it's supposed to look like two-dimensionally. And so imagine, that same cantaloupe. I would imagine it would be something, a section of a cantaloupe. Let's just say this is completely round, and we were to do a section here. Well, you would see that. Let me see. Let's move this. Kind of a bad idea to start right here. And I'm just giving you a simple example of what this section is. And I know, I hope this is helpful for some. And so here we have a section of the cantaloupe. And let me copy that. I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and I move that. Let me hatch this. So imagine that being, well, we've cut open part of it, and then this is the skin, so to speak, that you would see on the outside. And you imagine the curvature of that. And then you would see, let me offset this, inner circle, offset. Right? Oh. Okay, let's change this to a color that looks more like a cantaloupe. I'm just going with that. Okay, and then here, this is that green part, that little green part of the cantaloupe. Let's see if there's a darker green. Yeah. All right, and then we have circle. right here where we have all the seeds. And all right, so let's go over here. Let's change this. Go. And let's change this pattern to, I don't know, something else. Here, we'll just make it look like that for now. Just all right, these are the seeds. Okay, now if you notice what I did here is this is the cutting plane right here. This is where I cut through. I didn't cut directly in the middle. I cut right here, and I'm showing that because we're not cutting directly in the middle of the building. We're cutting in a particular way to where it shows the majority of the building on the inside. Now, can you do more than one section? Absolutely, you should be doing more than one section. And I want to stress how to do it with this simple example of the cantaloupe. You have the outer skin, that little green area that's, if you bite into it, it doesn't really taste well. And then you have the actual, meaty portion of the cantaloupe that is edible. And then here you have the seeds that you scoop out. And so you can see how I cut through here and I reference, where I cut, and I still have some of the background in there as well. And so let's see, XLV. And you see these lines that I'm projecting down, how they, let me change them real quick. It's fine. Anyway, they're on a layer. Let's change it over here. Here we go. All right. So I have where I cut and where the actual object ends. And then on the inside, this is what we're going to kind of show in the section. And if you look on page 6-5, you'll start to see that, the section plan coming to fruition. And I imagine this is going to be a lot of offsets, and we need to know some certain information. We need to know the ceiling heights of the basement, that main floor, and the second floor. And if you look on page 6-5, that information is there. You also see information about the footings. And I believe the wall thicknesses are mentioned on page 6-4. So we'll go from there. All right, so that's a brief explanation of what a section is. We'll get into how to do this really quick in our next video.